Security VIP is the official podcast of the security industry, from manufacturers to end users and everything in between. Security VIP is your home for nothing but the truth.
You think you know me?
On this day, I see clear. You're listening to the Security VIP Podcast, hosted by Taylor May, the official podcast of the security industry and home of nothing but the truth. Today on Security VIP, we feature the VP of Sales of Dragonfruit A.I, Brian Krause. Get ready for nothing but the truth.
Security VIP Nation, what is going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Security VIP Podcast, the official podcast of the security industry, and your home for nothing but the truth. As always, I'm your host, Taylor May. And on today's episode, we're featuring the VP of Sales of Dragonfruit A.I, Mr. Brian Krause. Brian, welcome back to the podcast, brother. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Taylor. Great to be back. Thanks for having me again. Doing very well.
Great to hear. And some things have changed. Some things have shifted since we last spoken. Obviously, I made a jump in my career. You made a jump in your career. And most people know who you are. But Brian, give us a level set of your background.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in tech for about 20 years and more specifically in physical security for about 10. Obviously, before Dragonfruit, I was busy helping build the North American business for AnyVision. Prior to that, I was on the infrastructure side, worked for a company called Pivot 3, and even going further back, spent several years with one of the camera makers at Panasonic. So I've got a good background that kind of spans the different elements of the security technology world.
Brian, I just saw you're also a mentor in SIA's program, a new program. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So super excited to do it and be asked to do that this year. It's a program that'll kick off in May. And effectively what we do is kind of help coach some of the younger folks in the industry, through some of the pitfalls and provide them with advice and guidance on how to operate successfully in the industry and help build, long-standing careers for themselves. So super excited to do it.
Yeah, it's a great resource, guys. Look into it. I've always had a couple mentors in my life. Brian was one of them at AnyVision. And I got to love that Boston accent because he speaks the truth. But also that accent every day is pretty special because I don't hear that too often down south here in Texas, my friend. But moving on, let's get to the point, man. Let's talk about Dragonfruit AI. AI computer vision, man. We're still in the same arena. I'm with a new employer called Zero Eyes. You're now with Dragonfruit. And I've heard great things about the company. But kind of tell us the background of what the company's all about.
Yeah, sure. So Dragonfruit AI, we're out to, as we call it, democratize AI. And what we mean by that is, building machine learning and computer vision models that can, recognize pretty much anything underneath the camera network and turn that into an actual product where you can deploy it. So what we've built is a platform, a cloud platform that allows you to plug and play the different models based on what you need. So we don't have to quote unquote sell you a big system that has 20 things that you'll never use in it. You can deploy AI models for the use cases that you have now, and if new use cases crop up, you simply turn on additional models and turn off the old ones, and so on and so forth. So it's a very flexible platform that for those that are looking to use analytics to solve some problems, or they don't know if analytics could potentially solve problems. It's a really great solution to be able to kind of get into it and validate it cost effectively.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, just looking at Dragonfruit, I've played with some of the analytics myself. I did a demo myself, and what really describes, I think, Dragonfruit the best is on-demand AI. It's just like, if you want to go test out a new model with some of the models they have, you can literally do that in a couple seconds. I mean, it does not take long, which I definitely appreciate it. And it's also cost effective as well. Brian, do you want to talk about the pricing structure at Dragonfruit?
Yeah, so one of the biggest differentiators for us is we've sort of tried to disrupt the industry a little bit in some of the legacy providers in a sense that we provide a platform for processing and analytical models. How much you use it is how much you pay for it. Again, you don't have to license all your cameras. You don't have to deploy big, heavy servers and enterprise systems necessarily. It's all about the use case. And if the use case is centered on a specific time of day for 30 days a month, then that's all the processing power you need. And you just run that analytical model on top of it. So it's been very, very well received by most of the customers that I talk to, because again, it allows us to get really precise, both from a capabilities perspective, but a cost perspective as well.
Yeah, and price, especially with AI, it's always that hardware cost that really gets the customer. It's always a big challenge that we've got to overcome in this industry when we talk about analytics in general. So having a cloud is definitely a cost-effective option. Uh, Brian, talk about cloud though for a second. Do you see any challenges with analytics at Dragonfruit with like latency concerns or bandwidth constrictions? Or talk about that a little bit further. How do y'all solve that?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And let me just clarify by saying we're not a true real-time analytic. So just fair disclosure, I know you like nothing but the truth. So with us, it's we don't do sub-second notifications of a detection. So most of what we do is around things that are 15, 30-second latency, either notifications or alarms. So bandwidth for us is typically not a concern. We have although we're core cloud, based off the shelf, we do have some hybrid architecture capabilities where we can do some processing on-prem and just move the metadata to the cloud to offload some of that. And we've also developed some patented technology that allows us to prioritize the objects by doing some initial inferencing on-prem through our software client that can, again, prioritize, let's say, the vehicles in the scene that might only represent 10% of the actual field of view. And allow the analytics to happen faster. So all that's patented technology that's help us really overcome the cloud latency, objections or challenges, if you will, to customer adoption.
It's great to hear that. And Brian, isn't there another company that you guys compete with called BriefCam that does something similar to this? And the way I see Dragonfruit is maybe Dragonfruit's a level ahead, maybe on steroids versus BriefCam. So what really separates you guys? I guess as BriefCam, I assume BriefCam is one of your main competitors. What really separates you guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, we, you know me, right? So I don't like to say we compete with anyone, but we do have people that compete with us for sure. So yeah, I mean, BriefCam's a decent product. It's certainly got a track record and certain capabilities there. I'm not going to knock any competitors on the list. I would say, one of the big differentiators for us is to sort of take that model of the AI capability and transform it into a more, I guess, 2021 version of it. So it's much more adoptable by the customer. Again, we don't have to move in this big infrastructure system and make it super cost prohibitive for you to try to solve your problem. It's all about what you're trying to solve, and that's only what you're trying to solve for now. And if there's more later, then great. But yeah, I mean, capabilities wise, we do things in our user interface and some of the features and things that we have in our platform that none of those competitors do, that we've gotten really good feedback on as well. So the go-to-market model differentiates us a lot, and the capabilities differentiate us quite a bit too.
Speaking the truth, man, I already put you in that little hot seat, and I love to hear the
All good.
firepower. I love it, man. It's great points that you bring up. And let's talk about some of these analytics now. I think the issue with AI, and Brian, I think you'll agree with this, is most AI companies they use the wrong data when they train their neural net. They train their model. I know here at ZeroWise, weapon detection has been kicked around quite a bit, and they had always used synthetic data to train their model, and just got a lot of false positives. So not really optimal use for the end user. So talk about how well you guys train your models when it comes to these analytics that customers are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have an AI team, and essentially our approach is a little bit twofold. So we have built some core models and some core capabilities around some of the most commonly used data sets, COCO, ImageNet, et cetera. But we take that one step further with our own data sets. We have labelers that annotate kind of, just like a lot of other companies out there. And for us, it's all about the scale of the data set and being able to label effectively and efficiently to refine accuracy and predictive ability. We also, again, a big differentiator for us is we also do work with customers on custom data sets. So if they have a certain behavior or analytic that they're interested in solving for or using analytics to solve for, but it doesn't exist off the shelf today, our team will engage to work with that customer to refine a tailor-made neural net for them to solve that problem. So that's something that at least not a lot, if anyone, is doing in the market today. So that's got a lot of traction for us as well.
I actually love to hear that because anytime you go to a new environment where maybe a model is not really trained in that environment yet, you can at least get variables. You can get different lenses or different resolutions or different angles from their environment and be able to train a custom model for them. It speaks volumes. That's actually something we do here at ZeroWise too for gun detection. We actually have an AI lab here in the States that we do that as well. So that's not, to your point, not a lot of companies do that, and I think they should do that, especially if they want to make this industry more evolve more with the analytics that continue to come out. So Brian, go to market, man. What's the go to market strategy with you guys, and maybe talk about some verticals you guys focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. So our go to market is channel driven here, and at least in North America, I'll say rest of the world as well. But we're working with large channel partners, the Convergence of the world, some of the others, some announcements to be made, hopefully later this month about other partnerships that we've formed. But it's a channel model. We're working with integrators, some IT VARs as well that operate in some of the verticals that we specialize in. Those are we're big in retail. Obviously, retail is one where a lot has changed, right, in the last 12 months. And for our industry, I think it's a good thing because it's really awoken a lot of retailers to the idea that physical security and those investments are not a sunk cost, that those can actually be an enabler of revenue and marketing and top line initiatives. And so it helps us broaden the conversation of what that technology can be used for. So retail is really big for us now. And we also operate a lot in law enforcement, obviously being an AI company that offers a digital forensic review tool as part of our off-the-shelf solution. A lot of law enforcement agencies are customers. But then, transportation, college campuses, K-12s, and commercial property. So we see a lot of commercial property / corporate campus as well, where they're trying to better understand occupancy or, speed up investigations and things like that. So those are our core verticals today. And we're working with a lot of the casino groups, and we've got some things under development that will help us really penetrate that market, the gaming market. But there's some, as you know, some special technical requirements that they have, and we're busy working on those, and we'll have some hopefully product announcements in Q2 to be able to help those guys out too.
Great to hear that, especially with those Fortune 20 guys, Fortune 500 guys. Those enterprise accounts, a little bit more difficult to get into from a network perspective, right? They got closed private networks and some things. Just I know at least here at ZeroWise, air gapping is a big thing that we're working on right now with our software and be able to work with these, these Fortune 20 clients that've got these private networks. But, Brian, a couple of weeks ago, I had my colleague, Kieran Carroll, who serves as our chief of staff here at ZeroWise. We had him on my podcast to discuss the shift, I think, what is happening with some model or some companies here in the industry, especially software companies and RMR models that continue to come out. And I think the topic of going direct to an end user versus relying on a channel has definitely, stirred some feathers, I think, put some waves in the water with some channel integrators. And I want to get your perspective. I know you said you're primarily going through a channel with your software. Obviously, you have Convergent, which is a great partner to work with. But what is your thoughts on companies like software companies and AI companies going direct to consumer?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to what's best for supporting that customer. The sale and fulfillment of a project is pretty straightforward, right? It can be done either way, depending on who you are as a company and what you're trying to solve. But I think what is critical is really the support of the customer. So if you're the type of company that is really good at the direct engagement and you've got the support staff, you've got all the support procedures and whatnot in place to be able to support that customer efficiently and effectively when they call, if they call, then maybe it makes sense for you. But the physical security integrator channel is a great resource for being that tier one support and driving the customer experience. And I think that if that's something that you can transfer to them, that it makes a lot of sense to do that. But again, it's really, for me, it's all about the customer experience And if that phone has to ring, what's the best path to be able to support them? And if it's us, maybe we do work direct. If the channel can be trained enough to be tier one, then you should use the channel, because they can be a force multiplier for you on the business side.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, Brian, you'll agree, customers spearhead this conversation. Would you kind of agree with that assumption that customers are going to dictate what channel they want to use, whether it's through an integrator or go direct to the manufacturer?
Yeah, I think so. Most of the time, when you talk to customers, they'll ask you, how would we go about procuring this? And some of that depends, of course, on how the conversation was started. If their integrator introduced you, then obviously, the process should flow down to that integrator through a proper business relationship. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the customer's call. And I think everybody on the business side of it has to be comfortable with that. And you've got to find a way to make that work if they have those requirements, right? It's no different than technical requirements. You've just got to find a way to solve it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And that's some good points there, Brian, that you brought up. Let's get to the juicy stuff, man. I know this week you heard some news hit the shelf here pretty hard about old Verkada, my man. Verkada had some issues, it sounded like, with I guess you don't really call it hackers, but they got exposed, right? Credentials were released, people got access to some of their clients and some of the camera views. And with Dragonfruit being a cloud company first, what is the immediate impact that you guys provide, or your customers can at least know from you guys when it comes to working in the cloud and these risks that Verkada went through this week? What can they expect from you guys with Dragonfruit?
Yeah, I mean, what a crazy story. It will be very interesting to see how this plays out. But I guess the most important takeaway from this past week's events with them is this was not a cloud problem. This was not even a technology problem. This was a sloppiness problem, and I think that's fair to say, and I think that they would even admit that. This was credentials to accounts being exposed on the internet. That's well beyond hacking. That's just snooping, almost too easy. So again, I think the most important lesson here is that the industry realizes that this isn't a cloud problem at all. It's really a business, protocol and operational misstep. And I think from the customer perspective, I think what you need to be sure is, you're asking your providers and verifying for your providers if it's a cloud solution, what these protocols are, who has access to what accounts, under what terms, and so on and so forth. And so, creation of super user accounts that can look into every customer's camera. I was blown away when I read that they even had that. Never mind that several people in the organization had access to those credentials. That's a big CISO's office misstep. So definitely from a customer perspective, make sure your vendors, have tight, CISO organizations and protocols around that type of stuff. But don't knock the cloud for it, because it's really not a cloud issue.
Yeah, to your point, man, just people being lazy. I feel like just sloppy behavior. It's a huge risk. It's a huge liability now for their company. And I hate to say it, man, but I always stress this point. When you're proactive, you don't have to deal with issues like this. We're reactive people. This is when challenges come up, and now it's some hot water, I would say, for Verkada. But let's move on from Verkada, man. Let's talk more about Dragonfruit. What are the goals now? I know you just recently joined the company this year. Dragonfruit, as the VP of sales, I'm sure you got some targets to hit, some objectives to hit, and hopefully you hire in some more sales folks to get on your team. What are the goals now for 2021?
Yeah, scale. We've spent a lot of time building the product. Obviously, even before I came on board, the engineers were hard at work for a while, onboarding the initial customers, working very closely with them to refine the technology. And now we're at a point where everything is commercially available, and it's all about finding customers that we can help, and finding team members that can be plugged in and help us get to those customers, and that includes the channel as well. So we're also very busy building our channel partnerships, as you saw with our announcement with Convergent, and companies like A3 Communications in the Southeast, and other regional players that are doing really great work and we're excited to be partnered with them. But that's our focus now, is focus on building the right channel partners, working with our tech partners, the Milestones, the Genetechs, and the IP configures and the VMS players in the space, to make sure that we have all the integrations we need, all the channel partners we need, and the right team here to help hit those numbers that you mentioned that never go away. They're always there.
It's always above your head, right? Always got to look at the top. I love to hear that. I love that word scale. You're exactly right, especially when it comes to AI. We've got to scale this. And even through a pandemic, which I think COVID-19 is slowly going away now. I know I was just in Florida a couple months ago for a job project out there with our team. And it's like a party over there, man. Everything is open. Bars are open. Beaches are open. It's a good old time. I know here in Texas now, things are fully open, operational. So we're all itching to get back to that new normal, right? We're all itching to get back to some kind of level set there. So great to hear that, Brian. And my last and final question, man, on this podcast, you know what it is. It's a 60-second hot seat, and you've already said it pretty much this whole episode. And on-demand AI is kind of where I see Dragonfruit really specialize in, and it's a great resource, guys. Look into it. But Brian, 60 seconds, man. Why Dragonfruit AI? Let's hear it.
Yeah. So why Dragonfruit? So, again, we built a platform for computer vision that is really focused on customers that are interested in what AI can solve for them through the use of their existing camera network. And again, the go-to-market is very important in this. We're really enabling customers access to AI without huge barriers to entry from a cost perspective, so that they can get the technology in their environment, test and validate it on a single use case or multiple use cases, and grow with the technology from there. So, I'm a big believer that, AI is a big, it has a huge future in this industry, but the growth has largely been stunted by the business models of some of the legacy providers, and that more customers would be solving more problems with the use of computer vision. They just haven't been able to, because that sort of silver bullet of cost and performance and support has never been offered. And I think we've built that here. So very, very, very happy to be here. Very excited to be building this out and talking to customers and solving cool problems every day.
And it's just like you said last time on our podcast, man. You said performance is paramount, and I think it could not be more true about what you guys do at Dragonfruit. And just like JC Powell says, I pretty much say this now in every single episode. As I say, people buy from people, and people buy from people who they trust. Guys, look into Brian Krause. If you have not heard his background, his experience, he's got a real good focus on AI, computer vision technology. Obviously, I worked with him at AnyVision. Great knowledge and experience there. He's now transitioned over to Dragonfruit, doing some great things over here in the AI realm. But it's partnering with the right people in this space when it comes to this cutting edge technology. I can't stress that enough, because education is always paramount. It's always key when it comes to cutting edge technology and emerging analytics that we see come out of this space, especially since COVID-19. COVID-19 kind of came out with different kinds of models last year, and different kinds of I think unknowns last year, especially around thermal and all those conversations, right? So Brian, contact information, man. What is the contact information if people want to learn more about Dragonfruit?
Yeah, so you can always hit up our site, go to dragonfruit.ai. We even make the technology available to you right away, so you can even set up a trial account and play around with the technology right there from our website. So again, it's all about democratizing the technology. And hit up our site, and you can always reach me at Brian at Dragonfruit AI too. I'd love to talk to anybody interested in checking it out.
Brian, are you hiring for any other people on the team right now? You guys still kind of just feeling that out?
Yeah, so right now we've got a full sales team.
Beautiful.
We're probably into Q2. Hopefully, we'll start to look to grow some more. We'll see how that plays out, but yeah, it's up from here. So eventually, certainly more this year. Specific dates, I don't know, but anyone who's interested, reach out, because I'm always interested in meeting great people in the industry and those interested in this area. And who knows, maybe the timing will be right.
Great to hear that. Future bright things ahead now for Dragonfruit AI, guys. Make sure to follow them, look into them. And again, it's on-demand AI, and you can try it literally in a couple seconds. It only takes a couple seconds to check out what they're doing over there. So for those that have questions, comments, or concerns, you can email me at info@securityvip.net. Once again, that's info@securityvip.net. You can watch this episode of Brian and I on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, and for all the latest updates about our podcast series, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn. Check out for the next episode, guys. Stay safe.
Better recognize. You wanna talk that shit? Talk about